And viewers, just before we get into our program this morning, I just would like to send our condolences out to the family of our friend and colleague here in the media space of Mr. Leandro Nore, who really was dear to us and was so influential within our space. And we certainly love and miss him. And of course, his family and his friends, want to send them our condolences, because I know this time is not easy for them. But yes, well, it's just from us. So, Leandro, thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you for all that you've been with us throughout the years. Thank you for all the encouragement and the tips and everything. You were just absolutely amazing. And we were happy to know you. So, rest in peace, Leandro. And getting straight on into our show this morning, my first guest is that of Mr. Reginald MacLean, and he is the new president of the Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association. And he has come in with a bit of a bang, because there is a lot going on within our tourism space, and there's a lot that needs to be fixed. And Mr. MacLean is here and ready to see if we could shake things up a bit and get tourism going, because now more than ever, we need to see our tourism industry grow. Now, as you heard from our news in 90 seconds, they have put out a statement asking for certain things to be addressed, and we're going to get into those things. But first of all, good morning and welcome to you, Mr. MacLean. How are you doing?
Good morning. Doing fine. Had a nice drive down from Speyside to Scarborough this morning,
Yes.
and looking forward to our interaction this morning here.
And of course, for viewers, as he hinted, he is, in case you don't know, he's also the manager of Blue Waters in Speyside, one of our special places in Tobago. So, getting straight on into it, you came in, the Tourism Association had an elections just about a week ago.
Correct.
And you have come in requesting certain things straight off the bat. And one thing that was interesting is that you noted that the political parties that are in the thralls of elections right now and the campaigning, they're not dealing with a lot of the tourism issues that need to be dealt with.
That's correct. We have issues where right now, up to today, I have not heard anybody speak about tourism on the platform. Mm-hmm. And I may be wrong, but none of us in the association have heard that. And it's interesting, because if we're going to diversify our economy because of what's happening with gas and oil and all that, tourism really and truly is where we need to go. Tobago has it, Trinidad has it, and we're not capitalizing on it. We've heard nothing. We don't have any plans of what the government's in power plans to do, or any of the other parties. So I think that needs to end up changing and become a focal point for us, especially here in Tobago.
And there are real concerns. One of the concerns that were highlighted by the association is the need for the refinancing and restructuring of the Tobago Tourism Agency Limited, TTAL. Tell me about that, and why is that so important and at the top of your list, actually?
TTAL is linked with Tobago House of Assembly, and it's the marketing arm for Tobago, for the island of Tobago, to help us with destination marketing. We need a lot more collaboration between the Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association and also with TTAL. We are the ones that should be the driving force behind what happens in Tobago. I say we as the industry, the tourism industry, mm-hmm. and it's a wide-ranging industry, because for every one worker you have in the hotel, it's about 3 or 4 other people that have some sort of employment because of the hotel. So if you have 40 staff, you could multiply it by 4. That's 160 people, 160 families that are directly involved. So if you can grow tourism will be the best way to make Tobago work. It works in Trinidad as well, because Trinidad has tourism. It's lovely. So our Twin Island destination, that works good. The restructuring of TTAL, we think we need to have a little bit more say with what goes on there. And assist them, because the budget for Tobago is too small for island marketing. for destination marketing, as it's called. So if you give me $42 million and I have to pay staff and all sorts of things out of that, there's just not enough money for marketing. And this is where I could go into things like sandals and say that if they come in, the planes are going to come. So we need to be able to go to World Travel Market, ITB in Berlin, some of the other trade shows, and do snippets of marketing throughout the world of places where we have the planes coming from, right? So it is our honest opinion that what's happening there and some of who are there need to sit down with us and really go through the dynamics of tourism. And we know where the markets are because we are the ones directly marketing certain countries to get those people in our beds.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things in terms of the restructuring part of it, you mentioned that the level of collaboration is not where you would like it to be. How would you rate the level of the collaboration right now? Like, at what level is it, and what are you hoping to get up to?
Well, as you realize, I'm new back into this. I just actually came back to Tobago in July of last year, and I've already ascended to the seat of president in 9 months. So obviously, some of what I've been saying and doing is starting to make people understand where we want to head. Collaboration, it's just a matter of us sitting down more often, for Tital to listen to us, for us to help Tital go back to central government if necessary, and say, listen, guys, what we are giving for Tobago for destination marketing is just not enough.
And as you
I mean, that's a drop in a pan. I mean, you're talking $6 million US for a whole organization to market an entire island.
And as you mentioned, the money part of it, you actually propose a solution or a part of a solution, which is hotels pay about 10% room tax.
Correct.
And you are saying that 3% of that 10% that is paid should go to Tital specifically for marketing.
Well, not just the Tital. We think that the association should also form part of that, because we will work in collaboration with Tital. And, you know, coincidentally, if my memory serves me right, about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, this proposal of 3% of the 10% room tax was actually passed in Parliament. So it's something that we have to go back in the archives and really pull it out and find out what happened to it, why it died. Where does our room tax go? Our room tax goes in the consolidated fund of the country. Is that right? No, we're the ones producing it. When I say we, not just Tobago, but remember we have hotels and guest houses and all that in Trinidad. So if that 10% is there that goes into consolidated fund, let us take 3 of those 10%. I'm not saying 3% of the 10%. I'm saying 3 of those 10%. And let us, between Tital and Tobago and the other agency in Trinidad and the 2 tourism the 2 hotel and tourism associations, let's all collaborate, come up with a plan, and use that fund to do what we have to do for the destination. Now, we could go a little step further and say we want the last 10 or 11 or 12 years that was agreed to
back taxes.
Back. Because, you know, in this country, we like to back tax thing down. I wouldn't go into that, but so if we can get that, you would be amazed at what could happen in this country, right? Both islands for tourism, because we could put ourselves on the map. Mm-hmm. Now, there's other angles to that. And I mentioned briefly about sandals just now. They bring the airlift. Without airlift, we can't do anything. So at the end of the day, if we can get promotional support and improve our operational effectiveness and destination visibility, all of a sudden you're going to see hotel occupancy, guest house occupancy, bed and breakfast. Everybody's going to benefit from it.
Mm-hmm. And then another thing that you mentioned, because I just want to get through your list as well, is the repeal of the Foreign Investment Act. Now, I have been hearing about this call since perhaps 2011, 2012 there. That has been a call that's been made by the private sector in Tobago, because as we know, the current law makes it a little bit difficult, not impossible, but difficult and discouraging to foreign investors to come in. And without foreign investors, we don't have much in the way of a triggering of the economy in any kind of way. We don't have the capital to invest in a way that a lot of people say that we need to invest and so on. So we need the foreign direct investors. But the law as it is does not work for us.
Right. So I think the law came in 2007. And if you look back at the statistics for Tobago, for example, you would see just around that time or just after that, we took a major dip in tourism. Things started to slide. And it got worse and worse and worse and worse. And I think we've gone from a maximum of about 85,000 tourists a year down to, I believe, about 60 now, somewhere in that region. So is that attributed to the Foreign Investment Act? Possibly. Is that attributed to foreigners not being able to purchase a property under a certain size? There's all sorts of different things in there. So we want to sit down and have a discussion with the government, whether it's the current government here or whoever comes in on the 28th of April, and sit down and see where the blockages are, how we can change it, and let that discussion lead to going back to Parliament to make the necessary changes to allow people to come in and bring their foreign money into the country. A lot of islands and other countries have said, we're going to give you citizenship for investment. We don't have to go that route because we've seen some islands have that problem.
And the corruption that is associated with it.
So again, sit down with us. Let's come up with a plan. Let's see how we're going to work it out, right? I'm not saying we know it all. We don't. But at the end of the day, if we sit down and we work it out, it's going to change, and it's going to change for the positive.
And of course, the airlift plan, that airlift growth plan for Tobago, because we heard the airport terminal opening, we saw everybody that was there speaking about all these airlines that are coming in to the country, but not necessarily to Tobago, because there was mention from the Minister of Finance that we're going to get links with Hong Kong, Argentina, and a few other places. But we have not heard, even with all the celebration of the new terminal, we have not heard anything about airlift specifically for Tobago.
Right. So I'll start by saying something that people are probably not going to appreciate me saying. I think the association was snubbed at that opening of the airport. Our then president, Alpha Lord from Mount Irvin, was not even asked to say a word. And I looked at the opening of that airport terminal as something that could have brought people together in tourism. And it could have been a new shine on Tobago to make Tobago move forward positively. I wouldn't go into the other political part of it, but it's one of those things that respect is due. You're going to have something opening in Tobago. I think it has to happen where people who are involved in tourism in Tobago need to be part of it. So we've just spent close to $1 billion on this airport terminal. And from what I have heard, it can accommodate up to 3 million people. But we have 60,000 people coming in the island. So there's you're hearing things, the math's not mathsing, right? You have that. You have a lot of airlines going into Trinidad, and those airlines don't charge the people of Tobago any money, people of Trinidad any money to bring those airlines in. In Tobago, we have to guarantee the seats. Is that right? No, it's not. Why can't we be afforded the same that Trinidad is afforded and get the airlines to come in here and help us fix our tourism? Right? So again, we have to take politics out of Tobago and really get Tobago to function properly and get the airlift coming in.
And Caribbean Airlines is supposed to be our partner. And I know one of the things that the association has said over the years, because even if we may not get specific airlines to Tobago, but they're coming to Trinidad, so why not have a desk in the arrivals terminal to sort of link passengers from that arrive on some of the major airlines to Tobago, make the transition easier. But I mean, of course, those things have fallen on deaf ears over the years. How are you going to invigorate the conversation? How are you going to advocate so that those things that we need and the support that we need from Cal changes?
Right. Firstly, I'll tell you that since COVID, the number of domestic flights that we had have not come back. So we are still short on the number of flights. Secondly, I'll tell you that every time Caribbean Airlines has an issue where it needs a bailout, that money comes out of the coffers of the government, which come out of the taxpayers. All the other destinations in the Caribbean benefit from Caribbean Airlines. Flying to. And Tobago does to a certain degree. But if we are going to be the ones constantly bailing out the airline, why don't we concentrate on giving Tobago what Tobago needs, right? If it comes down to the point that there's a problem with the air bridge with the subsidy, well, maybe let's have a conversation again and make a change. Do we need to subsidize every single flight coming out of Trinidad? Maybe take 1 or 2 or 3 flights and have those subsidized for the elderly, for the emergencies, for the various things at certain times of the day. Raise the flights, the cost of the flights. But again, this is a political football. Now it's politics. So in this season, we need to look at that before the 28th of April. So if it is that it costs $600 to travel between Trinidad and Tobago round trip, well, then let's make it $600. We have a subsidized ferry service that is heavily subsidized. Why can't people travel on that? I mean, I travel on it every time I go to Trinidad. I hop on with my vehicle, I drive to Trinidad. I rarely ever use the air bridge. The other problems with the air bridge, I can make 3 bookings for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because I'm not sure what days I want to come up with my family from Trinidad. And I decide on Thursday. I go to try and cancel Wednesday and Friday, and I can't. So those, my family, 5 of us, that's 10 seats that remain booked in the system that are not booked. And Cal will turn around and tell me, but it's easy to cancel. Sorry, we've tried canceling flights and we can't. So there are issues with that. You have other problems at Caribbean Airlines where it's $50 TT to reinstate a ticket. So if I don't travel today, my only penalty is $50. If I didn't cancel, that ticket should be worth $0. And if I didn't cancel within 48 hours, maybe that's what we need to do. So you start getting people to realize there's a consequence to not traveling.
Right.
And every other airline does it in every other destination.
But
so why should we be different?
And then, of course, the making the cancel tickets back into the system available for those that need to travel.
Correct. So it's a double-pronged sword. Mm-hmm. So even if I decided I was going to Trinidad today and fly back this afternoon, and I said, I just can't do it anymore. It's too late for me to cancel. That ticket should now be worth $0, not $50 to reinstate it. And that is the reality of it. Make people start understanding that there's a consequence to what you're doing with travel, and it's deterring other people from traveling. And this goes for both ways, and not just from Trinidad to Tobago. But we also have to ensure when a plane drops down in Trinidad that we know tourists are coming on, mm-hmm. that we have a reciprocating flight back to Tobago that can make the connection. If I'm coming to Trinidad to come to Tobago, I don't want to have to overnight in Trinidad. I want to make it a smooth transition, come straight through. So what you just spoke to about a desk or something that you could go to, that would be perfect. However, if I come in on a 10 o'clock flight into Trinidad, I'm not making a connection to Tobago.
No.
So we need to make it as seamless as possible. It can be done, but it's up to, again, the authorities, the airport's authority, the government, Cal, the 2 hotel and tourism associations to sit together and come up with a solution. And I think it can really positively impact Tobago, and we get back to 100,000+ tourists coming in right away. Easter right now is a problem.
Yes, and I'm going to get to that. Actually, that was the next point I was going to get to. The fact that to this year Easter has been bad. I mean, this whole winter season has been bad for visitors to Tobago, and that has a lot to do with the SOE.
Correct.
We heard that a lot, that the idea of the SOE actually discouraged a lot of the visitors that were planning on coming.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about the SOE. The SOE, when it was announced on the 30th of December, everybody went, what? We were expecting something to happen, but to plump a SOE at the start of your winter season, which is your high season for tourists, which not just for Trinidad, and it's also Tobago, big and bold with that. You have tourist arrivals, tourists coming in knowing that there's a SOE. So within 3 days of the announcement of that, all of a sudden the cancellations started to come in. Tobago House of Assembly, through the Division of Tourism, put out a statement. The Hotel and Tourism Association here in Tobago put out a statement. So what we did is we took those two statements and we made our own statement after speaking with Early Lai, who's our senior superintendent here, and speaking with Mr. Sebro, who is our Assistant Commissioner of Police in charge of Tobago as well. And we, right away, we went to find out where we stand. And the feedback we got from the police was that Tobago should even be safer. But the stigma of a state of emergency has its consequences. So where we were able to turn around a few of the cancellations and the people came, we lost a lot. Now there's another pressing issue, and most people take out travel insurance. So you're coming to a foreign destination. So it's somewhere around 8 out of 10 people that take out travel insurance when they're traveling. So if you're coming to a country with a SOE, you can't get it. So potentially you've just lost 80% of your bookings that you could get. So you're starting right away with a negative. And then some people, like I was talking to a guest last night at the hotel, and he said, I never told my wife that Trinidad and Tobago had a SOE until she got here.
Otherwise, she would not have, come.
Right. And that is now. I said, well, yeah, it finished on the 13th. And again, how much press have you seen about the SOE being ended? But it's not just the SOE. Look at what happens when countries all over the world put out guidelines on Trinidad and Tobago, travel guidelines. The US right now has a do not travel. The UK has a do not travel. Right? Canada has, I don't think it's a do not, but Canada has different cautious. And different parts of Europe and all of these. So all of these things affect tourism. So it was not good. It still isn't good. The high season where you're supposed to make the money to keep you going for the year, you're just barely breaking even.
And then coming down to Easter, which is the biggest weekend of the year in Tobago, that's not doing so well because there's another complication.
Right. And that complication is you've thrown I can't remember the name of it, the music festival that's happening, right?
Rhythm and Soul.
Rhythm and Soul. So why take rhythm and soul and put it into Easter? Easter is a time in Tobago where families are coming over and Tobago is full. We don't really even have to market Tobago to get Tobago full for Easter. But you've put a rhythm and soul festival in, which is great, but it should have been 2 weeks from now and create another boom for Tobago, another big booking period. So what that did is it diluted the already scarce flights and it diluted what you could do on the ferry. Right now, you can't get a booking to come to Tobago.
What's the level of occupancy for the weekend?
Obviously, on the west of Tobago right now, the occupancy is a lot better. And some hotels are going to be 80 and 90%. On the east of the island, where Manta Lodge, Blue Waters, Manta Suites, and a lot of the smaller establishments, very bad, right? Right now, we are currently about 68%. And believe it or not, we drop off Saturday down to about 35% because of what's happening on the western end of the island. So, as we're speaking about festivals, we have the Blue Food Festival coming up in October. That's on a Sunday. Carnival starts on the Friday, and the weekend after that is a long weekend. So again, choice of weekends to put Carnival is wrong. So we need to sit down with the festivals committee. I think we have that in our
Yes.
in our thing here, and really work with them and say, guys, this can't work. Why are we trying to dilute something that is already a popular activity in Tobago by putting something else at the same time? Think about it. Tobago's long weekend goes a little longer because of the goat races and all of that, and Buko and the crab racing. So you know Easter is good. Let's put something somewhere else. And I think jazz was supposed to be at Easter as well. Or
Well,
no, jazz
was
was at the
supposed to
end
be
of
an
the month.
extension of Easter.
Right. So and elections made jazz move.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, politics made jazz move,
Well,
I would
elections.
say.
So again, it's collaboration between all the various organizations to make it work. But not only that, every year you know you have a busy period in certain areas, and Cal waits too long to put on flights, extra flights, right? And by the time Cal puts on the extra flights, people have gone to Barbados or Grenada or Miami.
Because
right?
you could book it in an instant.
Correct. And I'm going to get to something else there, as I mentioned that. Intra-regional travel in the Caribbean right now. It's cheaper for me to go to Miami or New York than to go to Barbados or Grenada or St. Vincent or these islands. Why? Because we have 40 to 60% taxes. And when I speak to certain people in politics, not just here in Trinidad and Tobago, but up the islands as well, they say, oh, the taxation on the plane tickets is how we look after our airports. That's shallow thinking, and I'll tell you why it's shallow thinking. Reduce the tax, more people will travel, you get more taxes, the hotels get fuller, and everybody benefits.
Yeah.
So, air linkage is a serious thing here.
And well, unfortunately, we're gonna have to cut it out there at that point. But you've raised a lot of things this morning that we need to get more into, and I'm looking forward to having more conversations with you as the time goes by, especially after the election period. So, and let's see who takes the next government, and let's see if we can get them to really work towards getting Tobago's tourism.
Well, this is why we have put this out now, because we want it on the platform. We want to know what you as a party, we are apolitical.
Yes.
We just want to know that this is what you are going to be doing for tourism, and let's try and make it work, because it needs to work. Tobago depends on tourism, Trinidad not as much, but both islands could benefit.
And the foreign investment and all of that
everything
is linked. That we need, that we're crying for. Anyways, so it's a lot to speak about, but I mean, I hope that we can continue this conversation as the time goes on. So thank you so much, Mr. MacLean, for being on with us, and we're looking forward to you making some positive changes in the space.
Well, that's the intention. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, great. Viewers, we got to go for a break, but we're not done yet with GMT. We got a lot more on the program, so you don't want to miss right after this.